Show presented by Appalachian Wireless. I'm Andrew Joyce, your host, joined by our coach. 380 career wins, 169 at the University of Pikeville. Coach Kelly Wells, leader of the team, currently ranked number 2 in the nation, and a 2-game lead mid-February in the Mid-South Conference. That has to feel good.
It does. We're thrilled to be home after a long road trip and to take care of business on the road, and now to be sitting number 2, and I assume that's what we'll probably be when polls come out today. But it's certainly good to be here with you tonight.
4 of 6 remaining at the Expo Center. Of course, coming up this week, 2 of the richest rivalries that Pikeville has. Cumberland's and, of course, Georgetown coming up on Saturday. 2 teams that go back to the KIAC days. They're founding members of the Mid-South Conference along with Pikeville, and it's a couple of rivalries that I know the fans truly enjoy because of the history of the series with those games as well. We'll talk about those tonight. Also, we'll talk about the road trip last week. Tough, hard-fought wins. Now 21-2, 11-1 in the conference, but you go to Lebanon, Tennessee, you go to Columbia to take on Lindsey Wilson, and one of the longest trips in the conference. It's tough environments. You know what you're going to get. You're going to get physical play. It's Mid-South Conference road trip. How big was that road trip to get the sweep?
It was big. Anytime you go on the road, I don't think people realize how difficult it is to win on the road at any level, anywhere. It's just tough to do, and especially against good coaches and good teams. And you can throw the record books out every time that we play. I mean, I've tried to tell our guys to understand that, you know, you can throw those out. Everybody's hunting us. Everybody wants to be in our position, and we're not fearful of that. We're actually thankful that we're in that position. But we've got to be ready every night because people are coming for us with their best effort. You know, you looked at Cumberland, Tennessee, gave us all we wanted, and then turned around the next night against Bluefield and laid an egg and didn't play at all.
Sure.
Lindsey Wilson against Bluefield at home before us. We're down 18 at one time, and against us they played their socks off, played as well as they could. So
sure,
our guys are starting to figure out that people really mark their calendars for when we come to town.
No doubt about it. We've been talking to national media over the last couple of days about whatever level, how tough it is to win and play on the road. For those that are tuned in, from Kelly Wells' perspective, why is that? Why is it so tough to have a team focused and prepared and get a win on the road at any level?
I just think there's a level of comfort that you have when you're at home, and there's a level of discomfort you have when you're not at home. And your routine's always off, your practices are always off, your normal day-to-day is off. But sometimes I think going on the road, you think of all the things that could go wrong, and people are on your back a little bit and screaming and yelling at you, and the pressure's different. And where at home, all those things are on your side. So I think it's a level of comfort that you have being at home, and your confidence level kind of skyrockets up. You miss a shot at home, you say, I'll make the second one. You miss a shot on the road, you say, oh gosh, man, these rims are tight, or the lighting's bad in here, and
sure,
the gym's not very nice.
Right.
And, you look for every excuse in the book. Where at home, it's home.
Yeah, absolutely. Tough road trip and hard-fought wins on the road. The Bears come home 21-2, 11-1 in the conference. That one conference loss coming to Georgetown. They come to town this Saturday. Any chance this team overlooks Cumberland's looking to Georgetown?
Well, it would be ill-advised, and we've talked about it. They beat St. Catherine's on Saturday by 28, and I think St. Catherine's one of the best teams in our league. So we better be dialed in and focused because we beat them, you know, down the stretch at their place. And they were missing their leading scorer that night. So our guys will have to be dialed in, and I think we will. We play really good at home. We're 15-0 there, and the crowd will get behind us. We've got a good PR thing going right now for Thursday, Saturday games, and I think the crowd will be awesome, and the guys will respond to that. We had a good day of practice today, and we'll have another good day tomorrow, and we'll be heading in there with our heads up.
Everyone healthy?
We are. We're considerably healthy. Some of the guys today were like, can we compete some more? Can we have some more competition-type drills today? And I said, let's back it up. We need, you know.
Sure.
My dad always told me, you need your players on Thursday, Saturday. You don't need them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's bad. So we want to make sure that on our Thursday, Saturday games, we've got all our guys healthy.
As we head to the middle of February, you're heading down the stretch toward tournament time. Certainly not there yet, but how concerned are coaches at this time of year that guys get a little leg weary?
Well, you always are, especially the guys that are playing a lot of minutes.
Right.
You really want to try to watch them, and you can tell their bodies. You can tell them in their practice, their demeanor, and we've done a good job of measuring it. 5, 6 years ago, I was terrible at measuring that. We were going to go as hard as we could go every second we could go. And I understand the value of rest now and the value of doing a lot of mental work versus leg work, and that's an important aspect. Like yesterday, we didn't practice. We did nothing but scout and mental work on what we were trying to do, and I think it'll pay off for us this Thursday, Saturday.
Sure. Of course, Kelly Wells evolves as a coach. This team we've seen evolve since the start of the season. I think everyone that saw this team in November realized this was a special team. This is a very talented team. How close is this team to where you want them to be heading into the tournament?
Some days really close. You look at Cumberland's, we had 3 guys that played extremely well. 2 of our starters played as bad as they could have played, but we still found a way to win in a tough environment. We go to Lindsay and we have 2 or 3 guys play really well, and nobody played considerably bad, but we still haven't gotten everybody together. And I saw a quote, well, if you haven't put a good game together, you've probably seen your best game. And I don't believe that. I do think we've got better play in front of us. It's just getting everybody to play on that same night, and you'll see something special. And I don't know if that will happen or not, but if we keep winning, that we'll take that over everybody playing well, I guess. How
does it make a coach feel when you know going into a game that you don't know who the leading scorer is going to be that given night? It may be Keala King, it may be Bruce, it may be Chris Cantino with a 20-20 game, or it could be Elisha Justice being your game high scorer. How does it make a coach feel knowing that you've got so many weapons that any given night, any of your guys in the rotation, not just in the starting lineup, could step up and be your leading guy?
Well, we have a little adage we say to them all the time: we don't need any heroes, we need a great team. And we've certainly bought into that, and we haven't won the Player of the Week as many times as I think we should have. Sure. And we haven't got the recognition individually that we have, but our recognition hopefully will be down the road, and then everybody gets a part of it. But we don't need any heroes, and that's fine with me. We've got a really good team, a bunch of really good players, and I'm okay with that. I like that aspect, and I guess the hard part would be if you're the opposing coach. What do you want to take away? And to be honest, we wait to see what they want to take away, and then we attack them in different spots, and that's the luxury we have with this team.
Coach Kelly Wells, head coach of the University of Pikeville men's basketball team, currently ranked number 2 in the nation, 21-2, 11-1 in the Mid-South Conference, and 2 conference matchups coming up Thursday and Saturday at the East Kentucky Expo Center. Your next opportunity to see one of the best teams in the nation, if not the best on the NAIA level. We'll step out, take a break. When we come back, we'll have a special guest. We'll check on the national rankings from this week, and we'll preview, of course, matchups with Cumberland's and Georgetown coming up this week. We'll get a scouting report from the coach. It's the Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. Welcome back in. It's the Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless, talking all things U-Pike basketball. The Bears currently waiting for the latest national rankings to be released from Kansas City. U-Pike currently 2nd in the country in the NAIA, 21-2, 11-1 in the Mid-South Conference, a 2-game lead in the conference, and 2 big games coming up at the Expo. Huge. If you're a Bears fan, if you're a basketball fan, you'll want to be at the Expo this Thursday night and Saturday. Cumberland's Thursday, Georgetown Saturday. Should be tremendous matchups and what you would expect out of the top conference in small college basketball. We'll step out of the Kelly Wells Show and we'll step into the Bears Den. We get a chance to meet players. We get a chance to meet members of the coaching staff, and we welcome in Bradley Yoder, a member of the U-Pike staff. And Bradley, welcome to the Kelly Wells Show.
Thanks for having me.
Before we talk basketball and things like that, let's talk about your background. Let's talk about where you come from and how you arrived at U-Pike.
I'm from Apple Creek, Ohio, and I originally came to U-Pike with my brother. He goes to the medical school.
Right.
I came down with him, emailed Coach Wells, and got an interview, and I was lucky enough to get on staff.
When you're sending an email, college student, and you're sending an email to a national championship coach, what does that email read?
I just let him know a little bit about me and what my goals were, and that I was interested in doing something with the program.
Right. Basketball fan, basketball player?
I played in high school. I coached for my first 2 years of college at a middle school.
Right.
And just wanted to keep it going and keep doing something with the sport.
Coaching got in your blood.
It did. It got under my skin a little bit.
And you've got a good one to learn from in Coach Kelly Wells. We'll talk more about that. But let's talk about your academic standing. Let's talk about your major, what year you're in, what your plans are for the future, Bradley.
I'm a senior, and my major is history and political science. And if everything goes well, I should be graduating in May.
Very good. What do you plan to do in the future?
I'm actually going to come back on staff next year as a graduate assistant.
Continue your studies, and what's down the road for Bradley Yoder?
Hopefully coaching somewhere. Just like to keep learning as much as I can from Coach Wells while I'm here, and hopefully turn that into a career down the road.
Right. As you're preparing to email a guy who's been a national coach of the year, state coach of the year, high school state championships in a state that only has one championship, not many different divisions, also a national championship coach, I would imagine you did some research on Coach Kelly Wells. Who is this guy that I want to go to work for? What were your thoughts as you were learning a little about Coach Wells' resume?
Well, when I first looked at it, I was impressed, and I was like, you know, I hope he reads it, and I hope I get the chance to learn from him. You know, obviously, anytime you have a chance to learn from somebody that's been as successful as Coach Wells has, it's a big opportunity, and that's really what I was looking forward to, the chance to have the opportunity to gain as much from Coach Wells as I could.
Sure. Looking to go into coaching someday, if you had preference, 5 years, 10 years from now, Bradley Yoder, college level, high school level, where?
Preferably the college level. I mean, it's a tough business though, and I know it may not work out that way, but I'd prefer to go to the college level.
And of course, as a student assistant, for those that are tuned in, let's give them a little taste of what life's like for a student assistant. What are some of your responsibilities? What is life like on a practice day, on a game day?
On a practice day, I get there early, make sure we have everything ready for practice, get the equipment out to the floor, make sure all the practice jerseys are in their lockers ready to go. Just kind of do whatever I need to do to make sure we're ready to go out and practice that day.
Right. And on a game day?
On a game day, get there early, set the jerseys out, get the towels and water down to the officials, make sure the book's correct, just anything I can do to make Coach Wells' life a little bit easier.
Sure. Take some of the responsibilities away from the other members of the coaching staff. As you take care of these responsibilities in that role, I would imagine that a guy who wants to be a coach someday will spend as much time as he can with the other coaches when they're working on scouting reports. What have you learned through those processes? You know,
I've learned that it's a lot of hard work, and there's different ways of looking at it. Everybody has a different way that they look at going about putting together their scouting reports or recruiting or things like that. So I just try to pick bits and pieces apart from the way every different coach on staff does things.
Right. What have you learned that's really stuck with you? What have you learned from Coach Kelly Wells? Maybe one thing, a couple of things that you've learned that are something that you'll take with you into your coaching career.
Well, I've learned that you have to address each different player differently. I mean, you can't treat every player the same.
Sure.
And Coach Wells does a great job of relating to each player and what they need to hear, what they want to hear, things like that, like just how to relate to each player.
All right. 21-2, 11-1 in the Mid-South Conference, and ranked number 2 in the nation. There is no finer coach in America for a student assistant to work under than Coach Kelly Wells. That's our opinion. And Bradley Yoder, best of luck to you in your studies and in your coaching career. Who knows, a couple of years from now, we may be hosting the Bradley Yoder Show, and we'll bring Coach Wells on as a guest. Does that work for you?
I don't think it works for Coach Wells, but it would work all right with me.
Bradley Yoder, student assistant with the UPike men's basketball team, our guest on this edition of the Kelly Wells Show. Stay tuned. We'll return with Coach Wells. We'll get a scouting report on Cumberland's and Georgetown, and we may get Coach Wells' perspective on some other news that has gone on in college basketball recently when the Kelly Wells Show returns. It's presented by Appalachian Wireless.
Oh, oh, oh. close to the end, it's just beginning. Life is getting lighter while the days are getting brighter, yeah.
Welcome back in. The Kelly Wells Show presented by Appalachian Wireless. We talk U Pike men's basketball and joined by the head coach of the University of Pikeville Bears, currently riding a 7-game win streak, undefeated at home. And Coach Kelly Wells coming off 2 hard-fought wins over Cumberland U and Lindsey Wilson over the weekend. We want to get a scouting report, of course, on Cumberland's and Georgetown coming up, but wanted to get your perspective, something that's been in college basketball news this week. Marcus Smart, the Oklahoma State player, had a fan, called him names, called him something, an abusive fan, regardless. That's been admitted. And Smart shoved the fan. Who's most at fault here?
Well, there's a lot of blame to go around. You know, I don't condone Marcus Smart. I don't know him personally at all. But you'd never cross that line regardless of what's said to you from a fan. But there's a responsibility on the side of spectators as well. Just because you paid $5 to get in the game doesn't give you a free pass to humiliate people and call them names. And that was an adult. You know, it wasn't wasn't a student. And we need to think carefully what we say. You don't know what's going on in people's lives. And I know for a fact Marcus was struggling playing. He'd had a little downslide in it, and they were doing poorly that night and were going to lose. And there's a lot of things that go on in young people's heads, and hopefully us adults are a little better thinkers than the student athletes. He'll be penalized for it. From my understanding, he's a fine young man, just made a mistake that he'll pay for with games and his team. He'll cost his team. And I guess the biggest problem I have with it is that's kind of a selfish act because your team counts on you.
Right.
He's a leader for them. We've been through our share of drama as well, and he just handled each case, and that doesn't make him unsuccessful or a bad kid, and it doesn't make that adult a bad person, but our decision making on both sides needs to be a little bit better. And I know Travis Ford personally, and I'm sure he's given him every ounce of help that he can give him. And there's just sometimes that, you know, kids are emotional. You know, we're emotional as adults too, but we've got to work on our decision making as a collective group there.
Piece of advice for fans. I know we have so many Bears fans that are passionate behind this team, supportive in that way. If you had a piece of advice for a fan out there, in particular adult fans out there, what would you say to them? How can they be passionate, supportive of their team and not cross that line?
Love your team. Just absolutely embrace your team, love your team, support them 100%, but also know that, you know, that's somebody's son, that's somebody's daughter that you're trying to root against, which root for your team all you want to. Be as vocal as you can, be as we call them, our rowdy Bears, be rowdy and as you can be, but also don't cross the line, because that's still a human being, that's a kid. And I think Coach Cal said it good today, is we don't want to root against people, just root for our team. You know, that's fun enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach Kelly Wells, Cumberland's coming up on Thursday, 6 p.m. tip-off for the women, the men at 8. Donnie Butcher's team, Cumberland's historically a team that will get after you defensively. They'll push you around, they'll play physical, and you're in for a dogfight, whether Cumberland's has a very talented team or a team that is much more average. But they would like to keep it in the 60s. Is that true with this year's team?
It is, and really that's kind of been the MO on us a little bit. Everybody wants to keep us from fast breaking and wants to keep it in the 60s, low 70s against us. I mean, we're, you know, one of the top teams in the country in scoring, and until we got to conference play, and everybody wants to back it down a little bit. But that's okay. We've shown we can win in any capacity, and that's okay with us too. We know all 6 of our last regular season games are going to be dogfights at home and on the road. We embrace that. We welcome that. We know what we're capable of. We know our team, and our team's good enough. And it's really, this isn't a selfish statement. It's really not about what anybody else does. It's really about us, and it's all about us. And that's what we keep preaching to our guys.
Number 2 in the nation, and 2 losses on the season. One has already been avenged with a win over Life University here. Georgetown, the other loss, the only conference loss that came at Georgetown, I guess back middle of January. The Tigers come to town Saturday. What do you expect in that matchup?
Oh, they'll be the same that they always are. I mean, they'll be very athletic. They'll run and jump. be very, very talented team. Briggs has done a fabulous job with them, winning a national championship last year, and they've lost a few games that probably didn't expect to lose. But the night they played us, they were as good as anybody that's ever played. I mean, they were tremendous, and we weren't as good. And hats off to them, and we congratulated them after the game, patted them on the rear end, and deep down inside, we kind of circled that date. We wanted a better opportunity. We didn't play well, and I think our guys will respond. And again, I'm not really worried about what Georgetown or Cumberland brings to town. I like these Bears.
Is UPike a better team against both of these?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if we played our level of abilities, we're going to be fine every night we play. We haven't always done that.
Sure.
But it's about time to do that.
Yeah. If a team is ever going to be focused, and I don't care whether a guy's been here 1 year or 4 years, Cumberland's in Georgetown week, they're going to be focused.
You would think so, but I'm sure not a psychiatrist, so some days it's hard to understand young adults. But I think our guys are motivated, and silently they're anticipating Saturday, but we want to take care of Thursday before we get to Saturday for sure.
Coach, best of luck this week. Let's get 2 more.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Win streak is 7. Let's make it 9. Thursday night at the Expo Center. The women tip at 6, the men at 8. The University of Cumberland's in town. And then Saturday, a 2 p.m. tip-off for the women. The men at 4 p.m. Georgetown College taking on our Bears, currently ranked 2nd in the country. Thanks so much tonight, Bradley Yoder, student assistant with the UPike men's program, and Coach Kelly Wells. He's our coach. Thanks for tuning in to the Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless.